Hello. How's everybody doing? What's happening? So hopefully there's going to be more people join this checking it out notion of music. Where does it come from? Does it live within us? Is it all around? I personally believe all the above. I believe our music is initiated at the point of contact when our heart starts beating inside our mother's womb and trying to keep beat in harmony with her heartbeat. Her heartbeat helps our heart beat. Music. Interesting that music seems to begin, at least in my experience, the sense of listening. Listening. Probably maybe the sense that was online before even our capacity to use our eyes in a mental, rational, visual, vision, logic way. As people can tell if they've been on the site, I brought forth Van Morrison, checking it out. Checking it out. Let's talk across the table. There'll be obstacles along the way that are tremendous, but there'll be guides and spirits too. Let's get into it like a meditation. We all have a certain level of our own preparedness for this subject. I don't think we have to over prepare. I think each in our own life experience probably has a certain background of being prepared to talk about music, because it's such a part of human life, and I personally feel it's very needed at this time because it has such an emphasis on not just playing but listening. Even the musicians that play music, there's a listening to what they want or what they feel needs to come through them. You know, the vibe that comes through them and into their mode of instrument, whether it's the voice, guitar, piano, even flute. We need to draw on music to help us learn how to listen deeply and affectionately and carefully. Because music does not just hang out on one spectrum of lifting us up. There's that other spectrum in between, and then there's that spectrum of honoring our laminations, our blues, our suffering, our slings and arrows, our heartbreak. We need to play music when we feel that. It seems to aid in moving us beyond. Mark, hi. How you doing? I love your shirt. I love that shirt, man.
I'm good. I've got multimedia going.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and I hear the music in the background. It might have to, just turn it up just a little bit.
Go ahead. Should I turn it down?
No, just turn it up a little bit so maybe we can talk and listen at the same time. There's a sweet spot.
Oh, turn it up?
Just a little bit, so I can hear the thing.
So I'm in my, you can hear me? I'm in my patio.
No shit. Wow.
Well,
That's awesome.
Let me see if this works.
Ah, I love it, Mark. I love
Yeah,
it.
I can't hear you very well. Can you
Oh.
hear me? You can? Oh shit.
Yeah.
How about the music?
Who is it, Mark?
But I can't. Trouble is, I can't hear you.
Yeah, exactly. Who is this?
But that may be my age. So let me do this.
Can you hear me?
Now, perfectly.
Who is this that's playing?
This is Bruce Coburn.
Oh, wow. I like the sound.
Do you know him?
I can't say I do, Mark.
Well, let me turn you on. If you read my post,
Uh-huh.
you know, he is a Canadian
Mm-hmm.
from Derwin's neck of the woods.
Okay, that would be on.
Vancouver, British Columbia.
Right.
And I was turned on to Bruce Coburn, God knows, 50 years ago.
No kidding.
The guy's incredible.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, now I have, if you can hear, Sade.
I like Sade.
Yeah, that's kind of smooth jazz.
I think so. Yeah. I think smooth jazz. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So music is the glue that more than anything else,
Mm-hmm.
people respond to. And I have it's
Snoop?
a book. It's a book, Snoop.
Uh-huh.
I've never met the author, but we're friends on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And he, you know, he's a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
He has graphs that demonstrate people when they first meet. Music is the most talked about way to get to know someone.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I have some perspectives on what that is, but you're preaching to the choir. I would, just before you came on, I was just talking to the screen about what music means to me, where it comes from, how much it's a part. I think music is, from my perspective, one of the things it entails listening, and not just with the ears, but listening to how the feeling is playing inside of you, so that you can give an expression. I think of that when I've met my girlfriends, like you said, I have to listen to that feeling of, do I go forward? There's a kind of a listening that's not caught in words. It's like the musician is listening, a type of listening, so that the vibe can come through them and into the instrument.
Well, you're just a few years younger than I am.
Right.
But and there's so much, I'm going to call it bullshit.
Yeah.
In the even psychological realm that I am a part of.
Yeah.
But music, you can't you can't fake music.
No, no.
And it describes who you are.
100%, Mark. I agree. Do you know that the studies show that music is probably the only art form I know of, and I could be off, that actually synchronizes both sides of your brain?
I wouldn't doubt it. I don't know the studies, but I wouldn't doubt
Well,
that.
and the reason I like that is when I hear Einstein, I just recently, Einstein, when he developed his theories, he intuitively was playing his violin, and the intuition came through. He usually had an eureka through playing his violin on his theory. He'd do all the math and do that work, and then he'd go play his violin, and then.
Okay, let me interrupt. You know, I taught writing for several years, and you know, I've been writing forever.
Yeah.
And one of my recommendations is you don't listen to music while you're putting your thoughts on paper.
Okay.
Because it will influence you.
Right.
Towards,
I see your point on that. Yeah.
Towards, yeah, it's a feedback loop.
Right.
Feedback loop. Music, but music is, I'd argue, universal.
Yes. Right. I agree. And why do you think it's universal? Is there, you have a perspective of what makes it universal?
Good question. You're damn near, yeah, you could make some money in psychotherapy. Good.
Well, I don't know if you've seen, I posted the Jazz of the Universe, where a saxophonist and a physicist is trying to show how sound in the biggest, you know, sound and then music are part of the universe. That the universe vibrates or creates sound, and that and that creates a lot of the jazz of the universe. It's an interesting take from a physicist that uses music to relax after he's done the mathematical part. And I think that's what Einstein did. He did the writing, like you're saying, but when you put the writing down and kind of just put it aside, that's the time that you can use music to kind of relax the whole, I don't know what you want to call it, process, I guess. Do you think the two go together in a way, somehow? Maybe. Music and writing, not necessarily I agree with you. I don't think you should play music when you're writing. But I think when you're not writing, relaxing and enjoying music kind of nurtures the juices of writing.
Nurtures I'm not sure. I think that's a good question. I think they both have a place.
Okay.
And that music stimulates either it's very complicated, but I think all humans in the normal most humans are moved by music.
Yeah, exactly.
And writing is, and we've talked about this, is putting what's in here on paper.
Right.
And I don't know, music is a combination of internal feelings, expression, but it's not well, in earlier things you said you like jazz, which is like discordant.
That's one of it. That's one of the things, but not totally. It definitely challenges how jazz. One of the things about jazz, it challenges how we make sound and hear sound. It challenges that notion. All jazz music, like Charlie Parker, John Coltrane. If you look at the history and what they were trying to do, and the practice they put in, is they understood the scales, they understood the guidelines, just like the grammar and everything, but they were infused with a notion that I know this now. How can I bend it or break the rules a little bit and still, you know, touch people.
And some people it touched.
Yeah, right.
And other people it was just noise.
Right. That's the way I feel like. See, this is the way I'll make perfectly clear, Mark. I try all genres of music, but within each genre, there may be only one or two I might like. When it comes to blues, jazz, and rock and roll, I have the widest selection. But when it comes to hip hop, rap, hip hop, rap, there's a few people I like. There's something in their music I like. So electronic music. So I try to keep an open ear to see and not prejudice myself just because I heard a certain individual that represented that group that I didn't like. I didn't like punk rock until I heard a punk rocker play acoustic guitar at the Café. I didn't know there was such a thing.
We had a cafe where a punk rocker played a acoustic guitar. I must have missed that.
Yeah, that was at the cafe I work at. I'm sorry, Mark.
Let me get this straight. The Café strip shop.
You got it, buddy. You got it. And another thing, do you play?
Where you were a bouncer.
Yeah. Do you play an instrument?
No.
No, neither do I. So I was born with a condition that I'm a sight react. I can my short-term inner ear got messed up when I was a baby. So does my son. And it causes difficulty in replicating sound. So I've been told, 1, I sing off key. 2, I dance like an epileptic elephant.
I want to see that.
Okay.
See that.
Okay.
I'll turn up the music.
Bear with me a little bit, Mark. This was said to me when I was like 26 by a close friend. And I know you can appreciate this humor because age has brought it. But I was really butthurt at the moment many years ago about him saying that. I
don't know what that means.
Butthurt means, in your language, it probably would be wanting it to be too politically correct. When people take political correctness to an extreme or anything, basically, in my language, well, you're getting too butthurt. Relax,
I can put that in Freudian terms.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so since then, and it so happens right now,
we're on the patio.
Yeah. It so happens that I decided to enlarge that metaphor to say, yeah, I'm Dumbo the elephant. I can fly when I dance. I'm not worried about what other people think,
Well, let me bring that to reality. I work, in context.
I know, context. Mark, I'm just laughing with you.
I worked in the most popular disco in Denver.
Wow.
In the 70s.
Whoa.
And if you tried to dance like this,
yeah,
you would have been bounced
Yeah.
because it was so squished in.
Yeah.
You know, you had to kind of dance like this.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
You couldn't do this
Yeah. Right. Right.
because you touch something, and then we'd call in. Well, you read my book. We'd call in Buffalo.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And out you go on the street because dancing like this cost the business money.
Mm-hmm.
You had to dance like this.
Yeah. Right. Right.
The bump
Yeah. Yeah.
where you just touch hips
Yeah.
and then, you know, grab a, excuse me, people, grab a little pussy on the side
Yeah.
until somebody said, out.
Yeah. Right. Right.
And then Buffalo'd come over
Uh-huh.
and slam them into the door jamb on their way out to the street.
Oh yeah. I know that feeling really well.
Yeah, well, I don't know bouncer in a coffee shop with topless dancers.
Yeah, and parties at night where they rent the coffee shop out, because maybe I should send you, because this building is huge. It's high, and the coffee shop is a really large coffee shop. It's not small.
Is it a warehouse in
Well,
that district?
It's not warehouse, but it was built in 1904 in Riverside, and it was used for a multi-purpose store that stored hay and all kinds of stuff, and it's been through many incarnations. And it's like, you know, it has 3 layers. It has the main layer. The ceiling's probably about 50 feet tall, or maybe let's put it down to 30, and it's about 30 feet across. Then they have a mezzanine, and then they have an underground where they used to store stuff, and they used to have one of those, you know, those things that come up into the street and open, you know, a lift. You know, they have them in New York because they come up and they open, and you know, well, that's dismantled, but the whole underground has been turned into that's where they have open mic and they do art shows and stuff. And so it's not just it's stripped stuff, but anybody that wanted to have a party, or especially a wedding or something, he closed down the coffee shop, and then, you know, after 5 o'clock, and then some big group's coming in, or they're having a party, so he could make some extra money.
Sounds like my bookstore.
Ah! Okay.
But I wasn't smart enough to charge people.
Ah, I see.
I was just trying to sell books.
Right. How long did you have the bookstore?
A year. I lost so much money, hemorrhaging money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a long story.
Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah. So let me ask you, because this is about music. Music. Do you remember the first time you felt joy of listening to music? What song was it? Oh, Joni Mitchell.
Well,
oh my God, Joni Mitchell.
Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah. 4 packs of cigarettes a day she smoked.
Oh, wow.
But I'm a few years older than you, and Elvis Presley was Purple People Eater.
Yeah. Okay.
You know that one?
Yeah, I know that one. And I didn't really get into later as I went through high school, because my sister, like, you know, they had his movies with Elvis on it, you know, Hawaii, Blue Hawaii and all that. That's how, and my sister liked it.
Before that,
Yeah, well, I
before
didn't.
me.
What I'm saying is, I don't even remember seeing him on the Ed Sullivan Show. I don't even remember seeing that. My first, my first music that I remember is actually Dean Martin or Moray, Frankie Lane, Moon River, because my mom and dad, especially my mom, listened to those. That group. She would play. She had a set of Lawrence Arabia records of the music that was in Lawrence Arabia. Of course, Christmas songs with Perry Como and Bing Crosby, but a lot. It influenced me a lot because a lot of the musicians that I listened to, they weren't tech. They were called crooners, if I remember. They
Yes.
they were crooners.
Yeah.
And then as I went through high school and especially the military, and that was in 1970 and onward, going in the military and high school, I just got inundated with Bob Dylan, Moody Blues, Poco, Joni Mitchell, a lot of folk music touched me more than anything else. Later on, I began to expand more in rock and roll, Led Zeppelin, Dazed and Confused, Stairway to Heaven, and then I eventually also began to listen to jazz and instrumental music. And I find at this age, I find instrumental music more soothing. I have a few people that I listen to that sing like Joni, but instrumental music, having an ear to be able to listen to it and feel how it affects, it just it helps me.
Well, there's all different kinds of instrumental music.
Yeah, right.
In that there's calming, soothing music, but jazz is kind of
Well, the history of jazz is actually is a hybrid of European, Creole. It's actually a hybrid.
Yes.
Of even European music and stuff. And I've studied the history of jazz and blues. They kind of go together, jazz and blues, they go together. Yeah, you're right.
Well, if I can interject here, again, I'm a few years older than you.
Yeah.
And I began my mature life working for a living as a bartender in a nightclub in Denver.
Okay.
And the owner was a young guy from New York, and the entertainment he booked was a lot of jazz. Les McCann.
I've heard the name. I don't remember hearing him play, but I've heard that name.
B.B. King.
Yep, most definitely.
Yeah, a lot of those type people, because they were on the way down, so they were affordable.
Ah, okay.
And then on the way up was what's called outlaw country.
Mm-hmm.
Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings.
Yeah.
They were ascending. And then there was rock and roll. We had Jerry Lee Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
wow. That's nice. That's nice.
It was the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So there was this confluence of music.
Yeah, I agree. I remember feeling that way in the 70s.
And he would book comics, stand-up comics, musicians, was a dinner theater nightclub in Denver in the early 70s,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, cocaine, booze.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Uh, but let's see some of the others. There was a guitarist, a black guitarist, jazz. I'm blanking out, but he was awesome. Just awesome.
Did you like Leonard Cohen?
I didn't get into him until way later
Mm-hmm.
in my life, like
Okay.
now,
Yeah.
like,
Right.
you know, the past 10 years.
Okay.
But I love him.
Yeah.
His songwriting.
Mm-hmm. What about his voice?
I prefer females singing his lyrics.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
You know, I wasn't into First We Take Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
Are
Mm-hmm.
you know that one?
Yeah. It's been a while since I listened to it, but I do know it.
Yeah, he combined, but yeah, that's singing, songwriting, poetry, which I think, you know, maybe Bob Dylan
Oh, yeah. Right.
was the beginning, and I grew up with Bob Dylan.
Right.
I was here in Denver
Uh-huh.
when Dylan switched from acoustic folk to electric,
Yeah.
1965. Play was crazy,
Uh-huh.
friggin' crazy. And I was there.
Wow.
1965 at the Cow Palace in Denver.
Okay. Oh, wow. Nice.
And I think I was straight, you know, but I'm not. I can't totally remember.
That's fine. That's fine, Mark.
But yeah, music, and this guy, he's a friend of mine on Facebook. I've never met him. I think
Right.
he's kind of maybe a jerk, but he's a PhD in psychology.
So what's the point of the book?
The point of the book, it's Snoop. It's that you can ascertain a person's personality by looking at their stuff.
Yeah, right. I agree with that.
To include their music.
Yeah, right.
And there's a lot in music here in that he has research,
Mm-hmm.
that says when people get together, which is kind of what we're doing here,
Right.
and that what they talk about most when people first meet is
Mm-hmm.
music.
Uh-huh.
And you ascertain attraction via music.
Okay.
You have the same
Okay.
musical taste,
Right.
in that everybody globally,
Mm-hmm.
music moves them.
Right.
So you can ascertain attraction, personalities via music.
Makes sense to me. I mean, the fact, the thing is,
True.
yeah. Well, the fact is there's a musicality to the way we use language. The rhythm, the way we speak it, the nonverbals. because they've done
Well,
studies.
that's different than
But
actual music.
it is a big component of music, because music being based on vibration and tones and and breaking out in all kinds of, how do we work with vibration on different levels. So I probably have a very broad notion of music that starts off with just sound, and then how do we use it? How do we, like, trying to use my hands. I'm trying to use my tone of voice to get across my message. I don't play an instrument, but my body and my hands are a way I'm, in a certain way, musically trying to reach you.
Well, yeah, there's the sound component,
Right.
but then there's the body component,
Yes.
and you may be conflating them. In other words, dancing. And I make this point in the book, and I know you read my book,
Yeah.
that dancing, of course, responds to music, but prior to music, there was physical
Gesturing.
dancing.
Gesturing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why you say conflate. I just think they're interlinked. I don't.
They are, no doubt.
But I don't understand how you're using conflation then.
Well, because before music,
Okay.
there was dancing in the form of some sort of communication between male and female, female. And then music came into the thing, the interaction between people,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just winging this, spitballing this.
Hey, you're doing jazz. You're riffing. Go riff.
Yeah.
Riff.
Yeah. And then, and then there was music, and then there were people beating and dancing around the fire,
Yeah.
and modern music represents that interaction, communication,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly dancing with other people. There's bonding, there's
Right.
mating, there's all
Right.
these very primitive things.
Well, so I'm trying, hopefully not conflating, but I'm trying to draw a link that movement and sound go together. Sound moves. It moves through the air, and when it touches our ear or even our skin, it has an effect that could, that basically in some way it causes us to move or do it. Like, I think you're using music, if I understand you right, coming online when mankind, and correct me if I'm wrong, began to organize the sound and give structure to what they wanted to do with it, rather than just hanging loose and being affected.
I like you, don't play an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, simple explanation. I'm not musically inclined, but I love music. I love
So you have an appreciation for music, more than, because
yes,
it's an appreciation.
It moves me.
Okay.
In the fact that I like it, I don't like it.
Okay.
And I think it, but I'm speaking of particular music.
Yeah. Okay.
Particular music. Although I can be moved by all kinds. Like I said, Les McCann, jazz, opera.
Heavy metal?
I can, techno.
Techno?
All of it I can but my preferred is like I put in the post. You see, they're all like kind of folk music,
Yeah,
singer,
right,
songwriter.
right.
Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan,
Yeah.
Bruce Coburn.
What about Van Morrison?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, because
Fuck
he's my
yeah.
he's my top number one. You know.
His favorite, my favorite song of his is, it was used in a theme of a movie,
Okay.
and I'm blanking on it right now. But
Okay.
yeah, but that error,
Yeah.
uh, you know, and people say, "Oh, Woody Guthrie." That, I think it started with Bob Dylan.
Mm.
He kind of, I think he was the precursor to rap,
Mm. Yeah.
because he'd do talking shit. He'd
Yeah.
just be doing his guitar and
Yeah.
doing poetry to his guitar.
Well, I know he was influenced by Woody Guthrie. Bob
Yeah,
Dylan.
but then he moved it to
Yeah.
another
Right.
level,
Right.
and then
Right.
it all evolves,
Yes.
if you will. And,
Yes, it does.
but it began with the campfire and people beating on sticks
Hmm.
and dancing around the friggin' campfire,
Yeah. And
going
what was
crazy.
well? Was it? Is there any cause for using?
And then fucking.
Well, the two go together. Going crazy and fucking go together. But you know, like Van Morrison, just as an example, Joni Mitchell did the same thing. She moved from folk into jazz with Miles Davis and stuff. And Van Morrison's moved from, you know, originally from his Irish roots into folk and country and blues and jazz. I mean, there are artists that are they just love to play music no matter, and they'll draw. They have people that they draw on, that they're inspired with, and then they take that inspiration and they add their own signature to it, you know.
Yeah, no doubt. It's, and we've talked about this in many cafes. This creative spirit,
Right.
if you will, and
Right.
and some people, you know, it manifests itself in different ways in different people.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I can't play music, I can't sing,
Me, you and I are in the same boat.
but I absolutely love it.
Okay, so
And I think most people do.
I think most people do. But one thing music has done for me, the appreciation and listening, it's actually helped me communicate better, because it takes you know, the act of listening to music to me has been more meditative than sitting on a cushion for 30 minutes, because of what the interest, the intention to just, like a Van Morrison song, like I posted this, checking it out. I mean, that's one of my favorite songs of his. I posted it on the other side of Music Edition, and there's other, you know, Joni Mitchell, like the songs You Were Blue. When it develops an open ear, a wanting to listen, and this is one thing I think music this is the way I approach it. It helps me listen better to others that I may not agree with, because the listening is what's important, and whether I agree or not is not as important, and until it's time to state my case. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like in jazz. They do this in jazz. In jazz, one of the things I like is jazz as a model. They have this, what they call antagonistic cooperation. You have you have this ensemble, and say you have two people with horns, they'll play a riff on something, and then, it's competition, but it's to collaborate, it's to cooperate and express, and each individual express their thing. So there's a little edginess, but it's not meant for a zero sum winner or loser. This is both win by playing from their place.
Yeah. Okay, this just popped into my mind. Maybe the best example of that is dueling banjos.
That too. Yeah, yes.
You know
right.
that? Whether they're competing, it's from the movie Deliverance.
Yeah, I knew you were going there. I knew you were going there.
Well,
Well, that's the best representation I've ever.
Yeah. They're playing the same, but they're competing, and it elevates the quality, the beauty.
Well, and they're competing in such a way that it's they're sharing. They're cooperating at the same time. They're not competing in the total survival mode of kill, kill, kill.
Oh, but they are. And but it combines to make a beautiful, song.
Okay,
but they don't like each other in the movie, and it's a movie.
Yeah, right.
It's a metaphor, but it harmonizes in that one guy plays,
right,
and the other one goes, "I can top that."
But I guess I'm adding
metaphor for life.
But I'm adding a layer that I think is possible, that there's a respect underneath that. There's a respect for each other.
Eventually.
Well, I think yes, I'm taking your point, but I think that respect is earned by the way they compete in the moment. They learn that respect by hearing how the other plays back and forth. I mean, that respect is earned in the moment of competing like that.
Yes. Well, yes. It's that you appreciate excellence.
Yeah, right.
Or,
Right. But see, music helps me learn how to listen in that, not getting caught in that type of what I would say, I just call it unhealthy competition, because I don't want to, I want to feel good about playing
what
and that, but.
What is unhealthy competition?
Well, that's a good question. And the only way I can answer that question, Mark, because I know there's no way I can deliver it to you where it would fit into your frame of reference. I know it when I feel it. I know when there's healthy and unhealthy. I know it from being a bouncer and having to try to do my best to, in a healthy way, ask somebody to leave the bar. And when they don't, they give me attitude. And then it turns into that unhealthy way of working with the situation.
Wait, okay. So just calm down. How is that unhealthy? In other words, your job is to remove someone who is unhealthy to the situation, to the larger situation. And at some point, you may have to resort to aggressive physical means to remove him, but isn't that healthy for the overall environment?
It's still a matter of how do I do it? I think, no, I've been in situations where your scenario, I understand the scenario you're painting, but I've been in situations that somebody given that power, no, they just did it because they had the power and they were reactive.
Sure.
And so they were reactively aggressive and not consciously using aggression to deal with it. That's what I'm saying. I think there can be a distinction between healthy and unhealthy, but you know,
But sometimes, my point is, sometimes aggressive, violent action is healthy for the overall population.
I still have to, for me, I say for me, if I'm going to act aggressively, I still have a code of conduct of how I do that, because I don't want to get caught blindly using my aggression to take care of what the going on.
Absolutely. But isn't it kind of like this?
Well, so
in other words, you start down here, you tell the person your behavior is offensive to this, that, or the other, so I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
Well, that's exactly what you did a few minutes ago to me, because of what was coming across to you was my energy, and you informed me to, I listened to you and I adjusted. And so we're both on the same page. I'm just saying, I think we're both on the same page, is that I come from a place that a lot of people that act aggressively, they're ignorant and they're untrained with how to use it, and that's unhealthy.
Depends on the context.
Well, even if it depends on the context, Mark, it doesn't negate my point. I'm pushing back on you. I don't give a heck about the context. It does depend on the context, but whatever the context, that I just think of special forces or martial artists. It always depends on the context, but there's ethical awareness brought into whatever the context.
What does that mean? Ethical.
It means that because it depends on the context, you're very much aware of what kind of rules of engagement you need to bring to the situation. Rules of engagement. I am not going to, this is just about being aware of the nuance of your statement, and allowing that there is on the flip side of what you're saying, there is unhealthy ways of using aggression. And
absolutely.
But it doesn't necessarily, and maybe this is a point that we're touching into, is I don't necessarily think it depends on the larger group, because if I'm the one, like being a bouncer doing it, I can't be letting my awareness be overridden by what the group thinks I should do. I got to deal with the situation in the moment.
Okay. So there's two things going on.
Okay.
There's your job description, rules of engagement.
Right.
And then there's your personal reaction to the interaction with the person.
Right.
In other words, protocol says you behave this way,
mm-hmm.
but personally, you feel those two aren't always in concert.
No, they're conflicted.
Musical.
Yeah. There's dissonance. Yeah, let's bring in a musical language. Let's turn it into a musical situation.
Yeah.
At this thank you for doing that, Mark, and bringing that back, because in order to use pardon my clumsiness with this metaphor, use the music the way I'm trying to use it, is I have to listen in such a way that I'm not off center with the dissonance. I have to play with it, include it. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe you're too sensitive to be a bouncer.
Don't even go there. There's no such.
Why not?
Well, because you know what? I think that you're really sensitive. But I don't think it's a bad thing to be sensitive as long as you know what you're doing with it. You know, and this isn't directed at you, Mark. I don't mean to direct it, but the statement that you're saying, I grew up being the statement about being too sensitive. I grew up with being told I'm too sensitive to the point that if anytime I spoke up, I was always shut down. You know what I'm saying? That everybody took me. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Okay. Well, okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
now, in terms of sensitivity, what you need for music, you need a certain sensitivity for music. You have to have an ear. You know, your appreciation has a certain sensitivity.
There's different types of music.
And you're sensitive to which ones you like or dislike.
Right.
And so from the get-go, it's okay to be sensitive in that way. Is that okay?
In that we are sensitive to different things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Different tones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Different,
Yeah.
People are different in that this tone, people have different reactions to different music tones.
Right.
Whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And to me, that comes through with the act of listening. And as I progress, I'll speak for myself. As I progress of broadening my listening to different types of music, I actually made a conscious decision to open my ears and listen and not prejudge something because a group I was hanging out with didn't like a certain kind of music. It's like my ex-wife didn't like Van Morrison because she didn't like the way he sung.
Well, that should have been a flag right from the beginning.
Well, that's okay. So, poking fun at myself, I wasn't sensitive enough to acknowledge that.
No, we're not educated in that way.
Okay.
In that, and part of what I think is problematic in today's world is that we're not wired to incorporate all the difference that is evident exists in the world. Everybody is not the same.
No.
And yet we're bombarded now with all this different stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like, and people don't, we in the modern world, the iPhone, whatever world this is we're living in, we don't have the time to discern what one person likes and what they don't like. It's just, you get bombarded with all, to stay with the music metaphor, all this different kinds of music.
Yeah, because
and yet at a basic level, the majority of people respond to some rhythmic type of tone music.
Exactly.
But do you like rap? You said heavy metal, this, that, all these different, and it's just like, but one way to discern compatibility with a partner is music.
Yes, I agree.
Music.
I agree, Mark. One of the things with my ex-wife is she was a singer. We met in a play. She sung. In fact, one of my fondest memories with her, even though we're divorced, is one night we were out, parked in a car, having a good time, and she sung "You Are the Wind Beneath My Wings" by Bette Midler to me. I'll never forget that.
Isn't that from a movie?
You may be right. I just know Bette Midler sung it. So, but I guess trying to go back to my point, even to appreciate music, you have, like you said, you have to learn or educate yourself of a discerning ear, and to do that, it seems to be the case from my experience. You also have to be open to at least not prejudging before you hear it. Like I try to listen to music that I hear all, like you're saying, on the street. Sometimes I don't like the music because they play it so freaking loud. Boom boxes and stuff like that. I just worked from a perspective as best as I could, is to not let my listening ear to become rigidified and set in stone. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean I can't. I'm not going to like all music. I don't have a fondness for polka music. I do not have a fondness for it. But I lived with an aunt many years ago, and she loved polka music. And part of my job was to be there and make her feel safe at night. And it was a mutual. She helped me stay there, and I had a place to stay. She was 85 years old. And part of what I felt is, even though I don't like it, I would go and sit next to her, and I'd listen. I don't like it, but she wanted company, but I don't like it. Don't like it.
I feel that way about some heavy metal headbanging music.
Yeah, right.
This is like, I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Well, they've said that's going back to the caveman days around the campfire.
No, that's like, my conception. That's more like African music.
Uh-huh.
I like. I'm just not into noise.
I get you. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I hear.
I like words or rhythm. I'm not a fan of rap or heavy metal.
Yeah.
But pretty much, even opera, Andre Bocelli.
Yeah.
I mean, I can, but it's not my preferred music. I like,
right.
Bruce Coburn, Joni Mitchell.
As an
Neil
instrumental
Young.
song, have you ever listened to Van Morrison's Inarticulate Speech of the Heart?
I don't know that I have.
Well, try to look it up.
I'm going to look up my favorite Van Morrison song if I can. It's the theme song from a movie with Russell Crowe and Meg Ryan. Jesus, I'm drawing a blank, but it's friggin' great.
Do you know what album it was on?
Do I know what album? Fuck no! It was the theme of the movie. Proof of Life. Proof of Life.
Oh wow! Do you know that
the movie?
Yeah, I've heard the movie. Do you know he's one of the foremost? In recent years, he's become one of the foremost musicians that's played in movie. His music is played in movies.
Well, yeah, he's great. And what is he? Irish? Is it Irish?
Yeah, he's very Irish. But one of the things I was going to say about that song and his music, he has some of his songs, especially the instrumentals, helps you appreciate the silence before the next sound. It's learning how to listen to silence is important.
Yeah, you've said that before.
Yeah.
In
other places.
Cafés.
Yeah, and I like sound, but I also appreciate silence as a pause, And I think to go your point, I'm just riffing now. Is that practice to me helps me not or not, and work with, like you say, getting overwhelmed with so much fucking information and everything coming at us. It's my personal way of going, enough is enough.
Well, yeah, in general, I think that's a problem of the world we're in.
Right.
The overwhelmment,
Yeah.
too much stimuli, and
Exactly.
people can't deal with it, so they, again, I'm spitballing, they retreat to their interior, but that doesn't matter because shit's coming at you so fast that you have to make decisions.
Right.
What do I listen, what do I pay attention to?
Right.
This, that, the other thing. And at the same time, we're all basically still, and this may offend some people, we're animals.
Yeah, you've said that before, and I don't disagree with you, but I'm curious. I think we're different than other animals per se. I'm not trying to downplay.
No, go ahead.
That, but what I want to say is that we're animals that have a unique. It seems to have a unique animal way of being, that we're self-reflective animals.
Yes, absolutely. And that's brand new.
And that's brand
evolutionary.
And that's brand new. And I think we're still trying to understand, what the fuck did evolution do by letting self-reflection come online? What is there a purpose? Is there a purpose for it? Does evolution? I don't know.
It may have been a mistake.
No, Mark. No. It's a mutation. It's a mutation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so if you accept it's a mutation, you can't really, from our position, say it's a mistake, really. It feels like a mistake to us because it causes us pain, right?
Well, here's the big picture, is that the Earth, the planet, and this part of the cosmos thing, it'd all be fine without us. Doesn't need us.
Well, yeah, and I don't disagree with that. That has a lot of merit. But at the same time, at least from my point of view, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that just because it can do fine without us doesn't mean that I necessarily just have to go along with that.
No, fuck the.
Okay.
Listen to this, you motherfucker. Jimi Hendrix, Star Spangled Banner. Listen to this, you motherfucker.
Maybe several people have said that the universe is filled with music, and maybe this is we're responding to the musical universe with our own chord.
Yeah, I at some point I surrender.
Well, and surrender. Well, yeah.
I drink.
Oh, okay. For me, surrender doesn't mean giving up, though.
I haven't yet.
Well, yeah. Okay. I'm glad to hear that. I'm
the oldest motherfucker I know.
Of course.
Who is thoughtful.
Ah.
Most of them exit.
Yeah. Well, I get that because that actually happened to my father later in his life, and I had lived with him before, and that was happening to him. And I was living with him and watching it. So, and But where it touched my heart is that I surrendered and gave up. I didn't need him to be anything else than the human being and father he was trying to be. He was trying, but he definitely, because my father had manic depression, was diagnosed back in the 60s, and by the time he reached 80, even 70, it had done damage to his brain. But I learned to love the human being besides just the role he played as my father. And I'm so glad of that, because that last few years, I know that he felt that too. He felt that too. And I honor and appreciate that. And the same thing with my mom too. They were human beings doing the best they can. And I have to say that in my healing, that didn't change the fact that there's some things they did I didn't like, but as I grew older, it brought just a broader perspective. Yeah, that hurt, but now I understand. Yeah. And then when I became a parent, that helped. Put it in perspective, but I still at least acknowledge, I wish they could have done a better job, but I know that they did the best they could.
Wait, let's back up.
Yes.
Does that imply, I wish they'd done a better job, that you wish you were somebody other than who you are?
No, it's just like divorcing my ex-wife. It's just, I feel okay that I have some regrets. It's okay.
Really?
I have regrets, but I don't walk around with them like they're weighing me down. It's just a simple acknowledge. Yeah, I could have gone right instead of left there, and that might have turned out differently, but what the fuck? I mean, there's some things I just allow myself to say, yeah, I wish it was different, but it's not something I'm clinging to. Not something it's just a thought experiment, and sometimes just maybe it helps me also make better decisions in the moment, in this moment. It actually helped me with raising my kids, in the sense that there's some things for my parents that I love them, but I wasn't going to repeat the same things, let's put it that way, with raising my kids.
If I may.
You may, Mark.
You don't have to answer.
That's true.
Do you communicate with your ex-wife?
Only in the terms that if there's something that's up with our children, we're together. We come together.
Now, your children, I assume, you and I are close. They're adults.
My son is 34, and my daughter just turned 27.
Yeah. So, but you and your ex-wife still communicate if they run into what's the word? Difficulties, problems.
Yeah, let me give you an example, especially from my son. It's happened on and off with my daughter and my son, but my son's the best example. 4 years ago, he was snowboarding up in Running Springs, and he hit something and he fell forward. My son is a 5'11", 6 foot tall, 250-pound man. Well, when he snowboarded and fell that way, he was in an accident, and in that moment, they diagnosed he lost one kidney. My wife and I came together to meet him at the hospital when they flew him down, and we worked together for about 1.5 years for him to get through that. And it was for 2 years, he thought he only had one kidney, and he didn't have medical insurance at the time, and then he did. He went in, and the other kidney, thank God they didn't operate and take it out, because the other kidney came back online. Now it only functions at about 98%. But those kind of situations, my wife and I are good at coming together and being there for our children. But other than that, we don't have much contact other than for a short period of time, about 6 months ago, she was calling me because our son went somewhere, and because he lives with her, and because he can't afford a place of his own, and he pays rent and stuff. But he went somewhere, and he didn't really communicate how long he'd be gone, and she was concerned about where he was at. So she called me, and I kind of knew who to check out to, and I supported her in saying that I know our children are adults, but even adults need to keep in contact with other adults to know that they're safe. I just think it's common courtesy. This idea that you're adult, that, no. And my son got it. I talked to him about it. I said, your mom was just concerned. This isn't about being in your business. You don't have to tell us where you're going, but if you're going to be gone for a few days, you need to give us an idea of when you're supposed to be back. And I've told him this before when he was younger, because of my experience of being a flight dispatcher. It kind of goes with this metaphor. When a helicopter pilot flies from point A to point B or wherever, they have to file a plan and tell you where they're going. You know why they do that? So that if they go down, they know where to pick up the bodies. It's just common courtesy to kind of keep in touch with, especially in this day and age, that anything can happen. It's just common courtesy. And my son got the point, and because she was worried. She was up all night. Now, personally, I think it didn't help to go to your. Go ahead.
This is personal for my own information. Did you call your ex-wife, or did she call you?
She called me. She called me at 12 o'clock at night. She was worried. Okay. She was worried.
And this was recently?
6 months ago.
Yeah. About your son who's 34?
Yeah, but what's the point?
The point is it's relevant to me personally.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Mark. How so?
How so?
Yeah, if you don't mind me asking.
Well, because co-parenting adult children with a person you're divorced from,
yes, right,
is difficult.
Yes, and you're right. You're right. So I don't know if this will help clarify. Most of my co-parenting, especially since they've been 18, has been marginalized somewhat, except if there's, concerns about their safety, which I think is legitimate. If you're calling me every day about where they're at, no, that's different. That's different. But ever since they've hit 18, I've made a point of talking straight to my kids of what I expect from them and our relationship with them, with me. And sometimes they've come to me and talk about difficulties they've had with their mother, and I can relate, but I try to give them perspective and maintain a certain neutrality of empathizing with them, but showing empathy for their mom, and then critically across the board saying, you two need to talk to each other, because a lot of times they won't talk to each other.
Who's that? You mean your son and his mother?
My son and my daughter have difficulty talking to their mom because their mom's form of communication, if she's highly stressed, which she can get when there's shit that happens, the way she communicates, and this is just my description and from my experience, is just, I hate to use this word, but it's descriptive. It's irrational in the sense all she wants to do is control everything and not get information. Yeah, kind of like that. And so my kids, that's their mother. So they I've given them permission to talk back to me, and we're going to show each other that we can deal with difficult, stressful times, you know, and as in adult ways as much as possible. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's gotten a lot better in the last 5 years because my kids, I've tried to model being an adult, even though sometimes that doesn't mean I'm not intense sometimes when I'm pissed at them, but I don't just vomit on them. You know, their mother vomits her stress onto them and makes them responsible for her upsetness. And they may have had something to do with it, but she needs to take responsibility.
Can I appreciate all that.
Yeah.
Can I circle it back to music?
Yeah, because, okay, go ahead.
Do you and your children, the dynamic, mother, father, children, how's that relate within the music?
I'm glad you framed it that way, and I can only, and you know, I'm going to speak from this is where listening comes in. The part of music that I take, that's become really relevant, is the listening skill, to hear the vibe, the tones of voice of when my children are upset, and because they'll come at me like somebody blowing a horn, woo! Emergency, woo! And you know, I have to respond. You know, they're using their words and their bodies, but it has that sonic, and it has a rhythm. You know, it has you know, and I have to listen to it. And
well, I was specifically meaning you share musical preferences.
Oh, fuck no.
Okay, that was my question.
I mean, let me. That's probably really true. But just the other day, it's interesting you bring that up. Just the other day, I was sitting in a car because we were picking up my daughter to go for her birthday lunch, and my son had on the radio what he calls Louisiana country.
I think I might like that.
Yeah, I think you might too, because there is this guy named Nathaniel somebody, and I was listening to it. And so, again, I'm bringing in listening. I'm listening to it because I want to, I'm interested in what kind of music my children listen to, whether I like it or not, but because of what you've pointed out. So I don't want to be closed off to it or judge them because they don't listen to the same music, you know? I may not like all their stuff, but you know, in this case, my son had some Louisiana country music that I liked. I liked the way this, you know, they singing and, you know, and that. And
was it banjo and fiddle?
No, it was guitar and harmonica.
Okay.
You know, and you know, the story that went in the music was nice. You know. It kind of remind me of a kind of a you know, just tweaking on Hank Williams.
Was it foot stomping and
No. It's more okay. So
thigh slapping.
Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson kind of just, you know, kind of that kind of, but I'm just going off. My son called it Louisiana country, New Orleans country.
I think I'd like it.
Yeah, and me too. And that's why, you know, I'm very, we don't have a lot in common, but I work hard at least trying to show interest in what they are listening to, and I told him, I like this stuff. This is good. You know, this is good. Man, my daughter, the same thing. She likes a lot of Beyonce and Lady Gaga and some of Lady Gaga's stuff, not everything, but some of it I like. Beyonce, I just like watching her move. You know, but you know, I just want to be as flexible as possible.
What
Not only
about,
with,
can I, again, what about you and their mother? How was your music
well,
compatibility?
well, that was an issue with us. She can't. You know, we met in theater. She sang in church. She sung in musicals and theaters. You know, a lot of her music. We didn't. There was only one or two places that we really intersected, and that was a little bit of country and a little bit of folk. But we were, other than that, we were. This is from my side. I have a music range like this, and her range was like this.
Oh,
You see what I'm saying? My range was wider, and hers was like this. That's just
yeah.
where she was at.
How
You know,
about frequency? In other words, do you like music in your? Do you always have the music going? She didn't like music quiet. She liked quiet, or you like quiet, or was there conflict?
To answer your question,
Sure.
she controlled the music in the house, and I went to the garage and had my music. Now, and what I want to say is there was probably a lot of times the music that she did have on, I didn't mind. But if I went to put on my music in the house, oh boy, that caused tension.
So there was, so the music, so sort of, you know, premise, hypotheses
Yeah.
is if you don't, you and the person you're, you know, potential partner with, mate with, whatever, if the music isn't compatible, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I think especially if you can't find a little, you know, find space where you both enjoy music and you can enjoy music together.
The same type of music.
Yeah, something, and then we each have our own. You know, we go to our you know, we can go beyond that. But when we're together, I think it's important to find a common ground that we enjoy listening when we're together.
Well, like dancing.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
You want a tango, you want a slow dance, you want country music playing.
That's exactly
you
right.
Want Van more. I mean, if that doesn't mesh, that's kind of like you're in trouble.
Yeah, but the only thing is, Mark, the interesting thing is with your point, sometimes you don't know if you're meshing unless you jump in and mesh or try to. You got to get in the pool a little bit.
Well, yeah, but then okay. Sometimes your desire overwhelms
Yes.
the signals.
Yes.
So
right.
You're so intent on, you know, your sexual desire that you ignore the signals that you're not compatible.
Well, does it get better with the age of not ignoring the signals? Because you're speaking to when I was young. I don't know about at this age. I mean, I still probably am vulnerable to ignoring, but not as much.
Well, yeah, I think that's pretty universal as we age. We become less passionate.
Well, not to
more,
dismiss.
in other words, more tolerant, less passionate.
Yeah, and I was just going to add refined. We refine.
More tolerant means less passionate. When we're young, we're just full of desire and passion. Right. And as we age, we go, oh, what the fuck? just don't, don't fuck with me or I'll pull out my 357 and shoot you between the eyes because I don't care if I go to prison because I'm 70 years old. Fuck you. There's that part of aging.
Please, Mark, please. I don't want to read about you in prison. Please don't do that.
I'm not going there.
Yeah, please. Please.
I'm not good. I'm just saying, there's both sides of that.
Right.
But our passion decreases as we get older.
Well, can I frame it this way or ask you about this?
Sure.
You're talking specifically about sexual passion?
No.
You're talking about passion in general?
Yeah, enthusiasm.
It decreases?
Yeah.
Does it have to?
You take some drugs, and maybe not. I mean, that's part. The arc of life is, we're born and then we're figuring out shit, and then puberty. We just so much passion, and then you enter sort of the real world. Then you get older, and then you just kind of like.
Well, I agree that seems to be the case. I'm just wondering if it's possible that we have any influence of not necessarily our passion, doesn't keep going up, but it reaches a peak, and instead of going down, it can just slow, maybe go down a little bit, but then level out. I'm curious about the influence that we have on those kind of things. And I'm not saying that we can absolutely control it. I just think sometimes we don't give ourselves credit enough that we do have some influence on that.
On what?
On passion as we get older, how we relate to it, how we use it. I mean, I just turned 65 and I actually feel more excited. And yeah, I know I have an old body, and I know that, like I've said, I know that, the Green Reaper probably is going to meet me in about 10 or 15 years, and that's fine. The thing is, it's helping me not, I think what's helping me kind of do what I'm trying to advocate of influencing losing my enthusiasm is I'm no longer afraid of death. It comes. I know it's going to come. I've had 2 intense experiences facing death, and I just believe at this point, let's put it that way, that a lot of it has to do with how well I can not or influence my attitude of still having some level of passion that I feel excited about. I'm not just putting in time until I die. I'm not, that I'm trying to keep an enthusiasm, passion, and not because of being over 50 and feeling like I'm going downhill. And I'm not, in the meantime, between now and the time I die, I'm not just going to count my days and shut off my brain and shut off my heart and, and just wither away. I'm not going to go silently into the night. Just a little bit of influence. I'm not saying we have control. Just a little bit of influence. Because it's a fact. It's a fact. I know that I'm going to die. I've had plenty of people die around me, and I just had a niece die last year. So it's not. Death has been part of my life for the last 18 years. Every year and a half, somebody, family or friend, has died. And from what I gather from my own pool of friends, like my cousin, they maybe have 1 or 2, but in the last 15 years, almost every year and a half, I've had a family or a friend die. I've had to deal with it. And
I have a question.
Okay.
Since this is the Café.
Yeah.
if you could have a music cafe, if you could have a song
Mm-hmm.
played at your service funeral, what song would it be?
Can I have 3?
Sure.
Have I told you I loved you?
Jesus Christ, man, you were quick with that answer.
Yeah, because I've thought about it.
Oh, no, sure.
Yeah. Have I told you I loved you by Van Morrison?
Okay.
Forever Young.
Forever Young, Bob
Yeah.
Dylan.
Forever Young, Bob Dylan, or I like Rod Stewart's version too.
Huh?
And then the other one would be, I was just thinking about this the other day. What would it be? God.
You got to write this shit down, man.
Oh, I just went through and my children are getting my end of life care. And I had a conversation with them at the lunch we had for my birthday, so that they know what to expect. I mean, I'm counter culture, that I'm sick and tired of people. I'm not going to participate in culture's phobia of death and dealing with that practical reality. I think I don't want. I learned this from my father and my mother. Is they had things and they didn't want to leave us in a situation of trying to figure things out when they passed away. They wanted things in place. You know, what took place, so that they didn't have to. They didn't have to make arrangement. We didn't have to make arrangement. It was all we had to do is go there. Here's the paper. This is what they want, so that we could spend time grieving and not having to make decisions in the state of grief.
Good.
Yeah.
So, third song? What's the third song?
Third song, probably Neil Young, Heart of Gold.
Love it. I love Neil Young.
I know you do. I know you do. He's an amazing man.
Even though he should just give it a rest.
Mark, you were nice and kind there. That was a kind thought.
Yeah, he and I have been friends for 55 years or something. Friends with his music.
Well, and you guys are close in age, aren't you? Or he's a few years older than you?
Yes, he's older than I am.
Yeah.
He's older than I am.
Yeah.
And yeah, but he's been singing to me for since he first came on this scene.
Yeah, well, that's the way I feel about Van Morrison, Paul Simon, and Joni Mitchell.
Yeah. Well, Joni Mitchell and Neil Young. Neil Young wrote the song. He wrote one song, and then Joni Mitchell wrote back to him the Circle Game. Yeah, the Circle Game. They were both just starting out. And they're both Canadians.
Yes, right.
And
I didn't know that. That means that's been going on between musicians of going back and forth for a long time.
And they both came to LA.
Mm-hmm.
They both lived in Laurel Canyon.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a huge, and they are, I don't know.
Well, Joni Mitchell,
3 or 4 years older than I am.
Yeah, and Joni Mitchell and Graham Nash were together for a while.
Oh, all of that shit.
Yeah, it was the 60s. It was the 60s.
Well, it's just it's fascinating. It really is.
Right.
And somebody wrote, said, sung, nobody gets out alive.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, Neil Young and I just go back so far. And Joni Mitchell. But they were a few years older than me.
Yeah.
So
it sounds, sorry to interrupt. So it sounds like, because I think we need to end. I gotta go somewhere. We've been on for about an hour and a half. Um, but to bring it back around to the music thing, I get a sense similar to me how much music has just been in our lives for one reason or another. You know, either just to simply enjoy, or I'll speak to myself. When I divorced my wife and went through that process, I was probably daily for a while listening to Van Morrison and the blues, you know?
Do you have a song? Do you have your song, you and your wife, your children's mother? Do you have a song that
Have I told you lately that I love you?
and that's still one of your favorites? And who sang that? Who made it
Van
popular?
Morrison. Van Morrison.
Oh, okay.
Van Morrison. But one of the songs I like of his, especially, and this goes to the music metaphor, wavelength has been an ongoing on and off wavelength. I'll turn that on just to dance naked in my room.
Stop. Don't want to watch that one.
Yeah.
Do you have I forgot what I was gonna ask.
Well, you give me I'm asking that question of you. What about you?
Crystal Gale.
Yeah, I remember her.
God, I forget the exact song now, but I've written about it in one of the novels I wrote. Was like that's the mother of my son, but I was married 2 times before her. I mean, music. You attach music to all these.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Significant milestones in your life.
Exactly. They're the soundtrack of your life.
There you go. Yeah.
You know.
And yeah, now on my iTunes is coming Al Green.
I love Al Green.
And yeah, Barack Obama sung Al Green at one of his, thought he was so hip and cool.
Well, who was it? Who was it that sung "Sexual Healing"?
Sexual Healing. Yeah, I know the song. Harper. I'm thinking of baseball player Bruce Harper, but no, the musician Harper. Sexual Healing. Yeah, I am so old. I have such a this up here, this computer. I have to keep deleting shit because it's full. Yeah, Sexual Healing was Harper, whatever the fuck his name.
Or okay, how about Otis Redding?
Yeah.
Sitting at the dock of the bay.
Absolutely.
He wrote that song on a dock in San Francisco, and many years ago in the 70s, I happened to go to San Francisco because I love that song, and I was able to find out.
It was in the 60s because me and my buddy would go out to a lake and sit on the dock and smoke reefer and listen to that fucking song.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I heard the song, and they said that he was inspired by that song when he wrote it. You're right, in the 60s in San Francisco, but I went to that same dock in the 70s. I had a radio and I turned it on and listened to it and watched the sun go down.
Yeah. So, to wrap this up, yeah, music is universal.
Yeah.
It defines us, and everybody has their own friggin' soundtrack. And yeah, if you wanna You know, you meet somebody, you know, check out your playlists.
Yeah, yeah.
Are they
Well,
compatible?
yeah.
Do
And
you
to add,
dance to the same tune?
that's right, because you'll make love the same way.
Don't it, Crystal Gale, don't it let my brown eyes blue or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
remember that song.
that was my third wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And
she wrote that song, but Linda Ronstadt sung it, right?
no, Crystal Gale sung it. Linda Ronstadt, love her, love the
Yeah,
music, and
yeah,
her and Neil Young were pals.
yeah.
Great,
But
great.
but to wrap it up and include is that uh, music. That's my friend. Yeah, that's yeah. I have a tone for each friend, so I know who's calling. That's my musical. Um, this is what I'd like to say about music. It's universal, but it allows for the particular. You know, like you were saying, for the individual, like, you know, for us that appreciate music, but individuals that play it, you know, it's universal, but it allows it allows individuals tap into it and give expression. So it's like, to me, it's universal and particular, you know,
You
it's
like?
not.
Let me
Go ahead.
ask you. You like the Doors? Jim
Some of their
Morris?
stuff, probably the stuff I like the best is the ones that's probably been played the most. I didn't jump in the Doors, but I remember my first experience of getting stoned. My cohort was playing the Doors. So I do have a memory of my first and listening to the Doors, and I forget what the song was.
Yeah. Well, that music is the soundtrack
Yeah.
because almost whatever at what particular time and what music corresponds to what was happening. Is it a good feeling, a bad feeling?
Well,
And
yeah.
we make these associations.
Well, and I just this popped in my brain because music breaks the boundaries between inner and outer. It's just like, you know, you take it in.
Very good, very good.
It's that kind of putting a stopgap on feeling that we're so separate from everything. No, it whether it's a song that's sad or whatever spectrum, it's removing that sense of separation a little bit for a time. You know, if you want to enjoy music playing or listening, you have to drop this sense of separation, I feel, and let it come in and let it move you, you know? And if you let it move you, then you get to wiggle and, you know, I get to do this, Mark. We don't give a shit if it's disco dancing or not. Exactly. Anyway, I'm going to say bye, Mark, and
All right,
I've really enjoyed this conversation of you and I one on one.
it was fun.
Thank you very much, sir. Peace. Bye bye.
See ya.
See ya, Mark.
Somebody